But I do want to start. Rico, you heard the Red Wings song last night, maybe their most rousing, impressive win of the season. You fall behind 2-0 at Edmonton. You're damn near a minus 250 or plus 250, plus 275 underdog. You win 3-2 in a shootout. They're 12-4-1 since McLennan was hired. Yes, I know. Why didn't you do this earlier? We already did that show. We're past it. Kenny, we can't. But I do have a question. And maybe the answer is it doesn't matter. But we're all operating in this post-Lions hangover, and nobody really knows what to do. A lot of people don't want to watch sports in totality. They're hurting. But no one's paying attention to this team. We've had this conversation with the Red Wings. I think the Wings, it's got everything to do with, with the Pistons, it's got everything to do that the NBA's unwatchable. With the Wings, it's tough because there's a vocal minority that are the Kenny Cotts, the hardcore dyed-in-the-wool Wings fans who love this hockey team, and I respect that. But that is such a small fragment of not only our audience, but society. What, if anything, would it take for you to get into this team if you're not a diehard? Now, the problem is, yes, they're 2 points out of the wild card, but there is a glut of teams there that they're going to have to keep up this level of hot streak for another couple of weeks to kind of make up for the sins of Derek Lalonde. So I wanted to ask the question as we started the show today. Yes, it's great that they won, but what percentage of people watched it locally last night till midnight? 1% tops? And that's not an insult. It's just the state of the world. And then you factor in people are hurting, they're sad, there's no football. I wanted to at least offer two segments, right? Yesterday we did the little Michigan State thing. I wanted to do it today with this. So, for instance, I don't think there's any shame in this, by the way. Anyone who thinks you can be a fan of every sport all the time, you're missing it out. Something has to miss the cut. In my world, unless the Wings are going to be championship caliber, it is very difficult for me to lock in on the Red Wings, considering no slander and no siren, all the other things I'm doing with this job, whether it be on the radio with you or podcasting or the national show. Like, guys, I'm a human being. Now, if it's March or April and the Wings are cooking, you got me. But what's it going to take now? Like, what would it take for you to actually get into this where you'd go, look, I'm going to dedicate time. I have to watch the Wings on a Tuesday night. This has to happen.
You know what, Mike? I think you touched upon it. We touched upon it with the Pistons, and even yesterday with the MSU, because the Lions had you at a high of believing. Not only was this a good team, this was the best team. This was a team that was going to win. I think for like the Wings, because I thought about Kenny last night, because I was just like, well, it's 2-0. Kenny, go ahead and take it to church, because I'm out. They're down 2-0. And then I see, they bounce back. Okay, let me get back in here. And now I'm fighting off sleep. Like, okay, Kenny, once again, take us to church. Because, yes, if I knew that this team could hoist a cup, I would have more of a buy-in for it. But now it's just, can you make the playoffs? And, yeah, hockey's the one sport where if you make the playoffs, weird things can happen. But I have no expectation like I did back in the day when the Wings were playing, and they were just like, it was almost their birthright. This is when you saw the car flags flying around because every Detroiter was all in. Yeah, last night, you fall down in a late game, 2-0. I'm laughing. I'm like, well, Kenny will watch this. I got to cash out.
Kenny, do you want to step to the main stage on this? Because obviously you'll be the one to get people to fire up about this team. It has to be more than just the hockey elite. Do you think there's a pathway? Because the problem is they don't have a Mishkov. They don't have the Calabrini, a Bedard. They don't have those people. Lucas Raymond is like an unknown superstar, an unknown star. Casper's gotten hot in 10 games, but let's not overdo that. They don't have the mercurial player to draw you in. They've been dead for so long, a lot of people don't even know they play in the area anymore. I want your take on this, because I know you were, you and that hot dog roller at about 11:30 at night last night.
It actually did get used last night. I will fully admit to that. No, I think for a lot of the casual Detroit sports fans who have checked out of this team,
Yeah.
I think their biggest issue, the reason that they're not in right now, is because when you talk about the Wings, when we have these conversations, it has everything to do with, oh, there's a log jam. The words log jam get used so much where it feels like it's impossible to get out. It feels like they're stuck, and it's a path to the playoffs feels unlikely, or it felt unlikely for most of the season for a very long time. I think what will draw people back in is when they see, oh, we're beating the logjam. We're actually in a wild card spot right now, and the logjam is mostly behind us. I think once people see that, they will feel the hope again. And I think when Rico said, "Oh, anything can happen in the playoffs," I think people know that, and I think once they see that above that, that line, that cut line, I think they're going to buy in, or at least start watching. It will be a much more interesting product to watch, and if it's going to take McClellan and this team to stay hot to do that, I just don't see how you can't start. I don't see people, because here's what I see that you don't, Mike, is when I go on Twitter like last year.
Oh, good. That's a good place.
I know it's terrible. I understand, but when they were above the cut line, Twitter went crazy and everybody started, all right, let's get behind this team. Let's go. I think that's the answer to your question.
Okay. People, let's hear it. We can do 2 segments on the Wings. That's not going to kill us too much. I mean, we're not going to hemorrhage and bleed out here. I mean, if we try to make this a big Wings day, I don't think that's the best way forward. But what's it going to take? I mean, look, they're 12-4-1 since they made the coaching change. Clearly, Lalone, you can speak to it. I do blame the players as well, guys. I'm sorry to say that, but it's reality. Players dogging it is not acceptable. It's just, what's it going to take? What will it take for you to say, you know what, Lucas Raymond is amongst the names I refer to other people? Or, look, I want to be a part of a playoff chase. I want to see this happen. I don't know. Maybe it's too early. Hockey season, oftentimes my Nona told me hockey season doesn't begin until the Four Nations Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Nona always said that. Yeah. The Four Nations Cup really kicked off hockey season.
Yeah. The Brazilian goaltender.
Right.
Yes.
That's still one of my favorite segments we've done so far this year. Kenny looking up Team Mexico hockey and how they're ranked 43rd.
Dude, the fact that they play in like some little strip mall, and I swear I saw Auntie M's pretzels behind them.
Oh, on Annie's?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Is it a Cinnabon? Is that a Cinnabon?
It is. Sbarro? They got Sbarro in Madagascar?
Wow.
All right. 248.
People just walking behind the rink with shopping bags.
They're playing at Mall of America.
Right.
248-539-9797. And Kenny, I know you were screening calls, but I did pass along. Much like my Nona used to say, hockey doesn't start until the Four Nations Cup.
You know what? It's a long storied tournament.
It is.
It's going to start in almost 2 weeks. It's going to be great.
It's the countdown to the Four Nations Cup.
That's when hockey season begins.
And we will have wall-to-wall coverage here on 97.1 The Ticket. We'll get to your phone calls. Yes, we've got some football. And I think we have a pretty fascinating discussion that is far more serious than the Taylor Swift engagement party. We got to have a talk about the authenticity of our games that go well beyond the power of Taylor Swift and magical earpieces. I will explain later. Let's get into it. 97.1.